Real talk for the bold, bruised, and built to last. Welcome to the Built This Way podcast with Patricia Mullen.
Oh my goodness. I almost didn't record today because holy fuck, you guys, I've had like 3 kids in my house for almost a week and I'm exhausted. Having company in your house is one thing, but I almost had like half a basketball team and they were little and rambunctious. And I think God sometimes like puts stuff in your face to remind you or to show you how blessed you really are. And that's not to be mean, because as of recent, I've had a lot of just back thought on, some of my decisions and putting other things first and making the decision to have the surgery that I did. And then after this, I get the pleasure of sending them home to their parents when I get to watch them from now on, because I had to completely turn everything upside down in my own entire life just to keep my own business running, just at like the most basic of levels. And, I guess I learned a lot about it. I learned a lot about myself. I never really thought of myself as a patient person, and everyone left alive. So I guess I'm relatively a patient person. And if you've recently, I don't know, in the month of February, got the most recent ick, that went through my house too. Big fan of the oregano oil. That helped me big time. But like, I feel like every person I talk to has that. And so did the kids, which was also fun to experience. I've seen everything from puke and pee and poop, and fortunately, not blood that wasn't mine or bruises, because I'm totally bruised too. And did I mention they're not even love them, love my friends. Yeah, blessed that I was in a position, or that we were, my husband and I, to do those things and help. But yeah, just kind of looking back, I was like, what do I have to talk about? Good, I have a lot to talk about. So I'll start with sharing just some crazy ass stories, because I just don't, know. I mean, have you ever had to like fight a child? I have. I mean, it wasn't physical. Um, I did spank a child, and I think it was the first time I've had it. It wasn't hard, but he physically assaulted me several times. And when I was alone with him, I gave him a warning, and I said, "You throw hands on Aunt Patricia, I'm gonna throw hands back. So if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back." And immediately I got whacked again. And the next thing I know, I had to swat him, throw his little ass time out. And then I was little brother telling me that, well, he's just too young and he doesn't understand. I said, well, this is the time to teach him. And he said, I don't do that. I said, you've done that with me before. You've pulled that with me before. And he's like, well, I was really young and I didn't know any better. I was like, bro, that was last year. And then he proceeds to tell me how he knows martial arts now and he's a lot bigger. And old Salty Aunt Patricia reminded him that we're almost the same size. So you're just reminding me that makes it a fair fight. You put your hands on Aunt P, kid, I'm not going to hold back. So let that be a warning to you. And now that you know that I just whipped your brother's little ass, I'll do the same to you if need be. I also follow through in my promises. And there was more theatrics to that. Throwing myself on the ground and pretending to cry to get a child to stop crying was actually awesome and humorous, and it gave the other kids entertainment. Will you please stop crying? And my response, will you please stop crying? And then he would just stop. So I learned a little couple tricks and things that, kids really find you annoying when you mirror what they do. But it was also a lot of fun. I got to play outside a lot. I got to do some sidewalk chalk. I got to learn how to be really creative. Got to learn how to be a server again with snacks. And I also got to appreciate my old routine. I had to start a whole new one, and in the respect that I still had to work. We had a recent holiday and work still had to happen. Not for most people. Fortunately, my husband got the day off. I did not. I never do. Even if it's on the weekend, if there's something that's not done, we still have to do it, and so life showed up in a huge way for me this week. Overwhelm was an understatement. especially just kind of after like how emotional I've been anyway. On top of things, I feel like I did a really good job. Um, but man, yeah, high capacity people, they don't get to stop having like we don't get to stop having our responsibilities. We still have to do things. All the respect and kudos and you are a mother or father and you're also trying to work and sometimes you have to work from home or you happen to run a business and you have to incorporate your family into that and you do have young ones. I literally thought it was difficult when I had puppies and kittens at home, and I'm not being sarcastic. I remember my dog back in the day shitting like all over my house. He got into some barbecue like beef tips or something in our trash, and my husband and I woke up the next morning to the most horrific smell. And I had the most understanding bosses of the two at the time and got the short straw. And he was outie. And I literally had to do everything from clean our walls to pull our curtains and launder those as I'm crying and trying to steam our floor and do all these other things. And calling my boss to explain that, I felt like that was like, oh my God, this is horrific. I never, this happens to people on a daily basis. Holy shit. So, anyways, that's why I almost didn't record an episode. I didn't think I had anything to say. But, I do on a normal basis get personal space. I do on a normal basis get, um, I get interruptions and I get interruptions to my business. But for the most part, they're ones that I get to turn off. I'm in a place right now where I don't have to be in a caregiving position. I'm not saying all this stuff because I'm trying to just make everybody pissed off and jealous. I'm just telling you the perspective that I received over the last week and how it relates to how I still have to operate because just saying it out loud is therapeutic. I wasn't really sleep deprived, so I'm fortunate for that. And I did have to kind of keep the tone on for everyone. And it felt like being back in my old Chamber of Commerce days or whatever, because kids need you. They need that energy. They also feed off of your energy and they need constant entertainment and interaction. And at least really little ones do, I learned. Not my first time watching them, but just in, this new setting, it was finding different things to entertain. And by the way, the most recent Amazon Prime, Netflix, all the different like television app outage that happened, which was also in video games too, happened during one of the days that I was babysitting. Let that sink in. So we played outside. I learned how to get creative, right? But, having three little drunk people run around and do what they want to do and all that is probably a lot like running your business and having your business run you or having your employees run you. I've been in a position recently like that, not where my business was or my employees, or I don't have employees of contractors, but or was necessarily running me and it kind of felt like a circus. That feeling felt the same way. It was another season requiring service, not necessarily like productivity because I didn't feel productive at all. I just felt like I was keeping my head above water. The cognitive overload that I had, that just thank God for all the plans that we had in place and having recent guests like we did that reminded me of certain things about planning and strategy, which is something I live and breathe. Because if I didn't, at least I knew this was coming. So I was able to actually plan ahead in my life, in my business, so that I wasn't needing to take meetings during the day and I wasn't having to like take calls or interact with clientele or, I could do my work at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is what I did, or, 7 to 9 and then came out and then was on for everyone and did what I had to do. But, not everybody gets that option. Right. And so, yeah, your bills don't pause when distractions or things happen. Your clients didn't pause or mine didn't. My deadlines did not pause. My leadership did not pause. My output totally had to adapt in every single way. A little bit of how? kind of lower people's expectations of me during this last week or time. Even during surgery time, I did the same thing. I would tell people, hey, just in advance, like one-on-one, hey, I'm getting ready to have a procedure. I've got a couple, help. You shouldn't see any difference in service, but you're going to probably, either see a difference in me or not see me for a minute. And fortunately, I don't think it was that different. Even in short spurts, I only had short spurts of productivity, and I literally had to be okay with that. I said no to some stuff and to some non-critical tasks. I literally pushed things off until like when everyone was out the door. Within the next hour, I took a call and I worked clear into the evening. It actually felt really great to get back to it. But, it just doesn't stop. Fortunately, people are understanding about those things. You just kind of have to let them know. If you tell someone I can't do something right now because 9 times out of 10, they're okay with it. And the things that really had to get done are the things that I made sure that I got done. Um, I just had to accept that there were going to be times of imperfection, and some of the help that I was getting, if it wasn't 1,000% of what I wanted, it was going to have to be okay. That's really hard to say because I'm a perfectionist. So I took little tiny pockets of recovery time when I could. And that was just in the last couple days. Like, it sounds like I just went to war, right? But that was just like having a house full of people. And what I'm also learned is I'm a very big introvert. A lot of people think that I'm an extrovert because I was always a people person. And I was a Chamber of Commerce director. And before that, I was in radio. And the older I got, the more introverted I became. So when I have a lot of people around and a lot of stimulation over with a lot of people, big events, things like that, I just need to back off for a little bit and go into my own. And that's why I think weekends are so valuable to me and my husband, because it's the time that we kind of get together alone to just kind of reset. And that is when I try to get my alone time, and super early in the mornings when no one's awake. And it's been a while since I've had that. Yeah. Let's get back into learning things, not all the things that these are the things. I guess it's all is learning is just talking about it is exhausting too. You have to do hard things when you have to, you know? And not so hard things when you don't need to. My husband made a comment to somebody. They asked why I was so busy. And he said, well, sometimes she'll add projects to her plate that she doesn't necessarily need to do, and then they'll end up taking whatever. And I do that because I like the feeling of completion. And in my business in particular, when you're marketing, like you're never not marketing. You're never not done. A project's never finished. God damn it, a banner's never completed sometimes because they have so many changes. A website's never done. A social media plan is never finished. You're constantly adding to it. There's never a point where it's like, oh, I'm done. Unless it's something that's actually like finite that gets printed or sent off to a customer. So I like physical, tangible projects and things. That's why I built a stock tank pool, because when it got done, I could physically see it and I could build it and it could work. That's when it came to changing like calipers and all the different stuff on my Jeep. I actually painted them myself because I like the feeling of when it's done and how cool it looks and knowing that I accomplished that thing. I did the dumbest shit ever the other day, and I thought I was going to clean a rug that my dog I was telling you about had shit all over this house. And this was actually a different time, same dog, years later. And I thought I cleaned this area rug, beautifully. Well, we move into this new house, and these brand new rugs that I just bought don't match really the vibe at all. So what does match the vibe are these old rugs that I have rolled up in my garage. So I open it thinking, I'm going to clean these rugs. I'm going to do a really good job. They're going to be great, blah, 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 blah. And it just proceeded to get worse and worse and worse. And like 2.5 days later, and that includes me power washing this motherfucker, which is crazy. You can't get the water out of it, then trying to extract the water out of it, and then having to go to the hardware store to rent a carpet water extractor. And then it was 2 days of that. It's finally clean. Still sitting in my garage or whatever. But and that's what he means. But I like the fact that it's done. and it doesn't stink anymore. And when I am ready to put it in my house, it's going to look awesome. And I did that thing, right? And it came at a time where it probably wasn't the most important, but I needed to do it for whatever reason. So I suggest to do the hard things when you have to and not the hard or the important things when you don't. Because I do learn those hard lessons sometimes, but I just needed it. And it was before everyone was getting here, and I didn't know it was going to take 3 days. So there's that. Yeah. My systems for me matter more than anything when chaos hits. And when they get disrupted or when life gets disrupted, I get disrupted. And I need to work on that. And I'm working on that. I feel like I did a really good job of that this week. I feel like the aftermath of it and how I felt is hitting me. And I think it was just exhaustion somewhere in there. I didn't take very good care of myself. Mentioned to my husband I didn't eat the other day, and it was like 8 o'clock at night, and I just burst into tears. Yeah, like not the greatest thing for your cortisol levels and all that, and your stress. What the fuck? But my client stuff got done, and I did take my meetings, and you know what? God damn it, my house got clean because I'm a psychopath. My support networks, the people that help me with certain services like SEO, some graphics, video editing, my podcast, like those people that help keep everything flowing are also the ones that matter too. Because like if I didn't have a support network in place, when all this shit happens, it would have just completely like fell off the map. And yeah. So also your boundaries matter. And I've said this before, and I will repeat it, and I will also repeat it to myself. It is not up to others to adhere to your boundaries. It is up to you to defend them, right? Or at least to enforce them. And if you don't set them, people don't know. And I have a history in my life of not having any boundaries. So this next stage of my life, when I enter said boundaries, if you don't share that with folks, it's really unfair for them to expect or know. And I didn't learn that lesson recently. I actually learned that lesson years ago, around the time when I was going through the big transition of my move to when I went to Alabama and my transition when I had my hip replacements. There was also a part of me that expected people to know that I needed space. When my dog had passed, I remember I brought this up before about a client situation where I invited them to find someone else. And the biggest part about that was like when that happened, that changed me. And I didn't have, I had less patience than I did now. It's starting to come back, but I had zero to null at the time. And yeah, I've learned since then to explain to people boundaries in a good way. So it's not insulting, because at the end of the day, telling someone that you don't have time for them isn't you saying that you don't have time for them. It means that at this moment you can't take care of them now, or that you don't want to help them. It just means that at this exact moment you can't, and it may not mean that you can't or that you were just unable to, and it just might be because you just don't have the capacity, whatever that is. And they are so important, and they're important for yourself, to protect your family, to protect your business, and to protect just your overall peace in everything. And I forget it. And when you are a people pleaser, you get guilt because you don't want to disappoint people. So, with that, as I don't want to continue to ramble, I am stronger than I think. You are stronger than you think. We're all in a season where or at least I am, and I feel like everybody I talk to, everything feels super loud and demanding. And I don't know of a season that I've had where everything didn't feel super loud and demanding. I'm like, so waiting for it. I'm not sure if it's just going to knock someday and be like, what's up? I'm your season where everything's going to be relaxing and you're just going to be able to chill. But you know what? Fire's going to be super fucking boring. So I don't know if I'm going to welcome that. But what I'm going to welcome is recognizing the overload before it happens. Because sometimes like all your leadership stuff isn't about just pushing harder and all that. It's just about taking care of yourself and holding shit steady. So let's continue to be human. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for hanging out with me. And I love this. And thanks for the therapy. And I'll see you next week.